With red, official weight 114.8 pounds. His professional record, outstanding. 35 victories, including 25 big wins by knockout, only 2 defeats from Puerto Peñasco, Sonora, Mexico. The former flyweight and former super flyweight champion of the world, El Gallo, Juan Francisco Estrada. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing black, officially weighing in at 114.6 pounds. His professional record, also outstanding. 35 victories, including 26 big wins by knockout. Only 1 defeat with 1 draw. From Guamuchil, Sinaloa, Mexico, the former WBC super flyweight champion of the world, Carlos El Principe Cuadras.
Okay, Coach, both of these are a little bit high. I'm going to let them work in here, okay? Escúchame todo. Pelea duro, pelea limpio. Buena suerte, toco lo mano.
Cuadras has the personality to be a breakout star, and he can fight. But he's got to fight well enough to separate himself from Estrada, who is an excellent world-class fighter himself. This is a really good matchup.
Cuadras is certainly cocky. Nothing will ever dent his confidence, but Andre Ward in the 38th fight of his career. He is working tonight with trainer Jorge Barrera for the first time. Says that he just felt like he needed a change. How awkward might it be for him to be with a trainer for the first time in his 38th fight?
It could be awkward, but I think it depends on the type of fighter you are. He seems to be a guy that doesn't take himself too serious. He's not, that type of guy. So he said it's no issue, and he said that they gelled okay in training camp, so that's the key. You got to take his word for it.
2 similar fighters with very similar records. Showed you that they're equal in height, equal in arm length, etc. There's a lot in common between the 2 of them. Both were quality amateurs in the Mexican system. They knew each other then. Never fought as amateurs. First time they're meeting as pros.
There's no feeling out process right now. Both guys are being two-fisted.
Estrada is more of a kind of classical aggressive fighter, and Cuadras is more of a kind of improvisational fighter whose charisma is obvious when he fights, in fact, not only when he talks, where it's also quite obvious.
Max, you covered Cuadras in his meeting with Chocolatito Gonzalez in September a year and a half ago. I happened to be in London that night while you were calling the blow-by-blow on that fight. Cuadras thought that he had won the fight. It was a close enough encounter, right?
It was very close, and the thing about these 2 guys right now is before Chocolatito soaring Visay, which Chocolatito lost, but if not for that official verdict, if someone were to ask what's the closest Chocolatito ever came to losing a fight, you point to these 2 guys. Take your pick. Was it Cuadras or Estrada? In fact, I think they each did better against Chocolatito than Soren Visay did.
Even though Soren Visay was the one who got the nod from the judges in New York, a lot of us think that blood from accidental butts had as much to do with that as anything. Both fighters have made an impression in the first round. Both fighters scoring to the head and the body in the first round.
Yeah, Cuadras is being a little bit more aggressive and standing his ground a little bit more than we anticipated. He told us in the fighter meeting he wanted to box and bring Estrada to him. He's not doing that at the moment.
Especially at this weight class. What does a fighter bring that attracts attention and attracts a following? Chocolatito, until very recently undefeated, best pound for pound according to many. The monster who you're going to see after this fight, Inoue, he's this boxing prodigy. There's something to see there. He's this amazing fighter with very little experience, already near the top of the game. In a fight like this, one of these 2 fighters wants to emerge as a bankable star like that. And Cuadras is the one who's seen as having more upside.
Absolutely. He's got a tremendous personality. He draws you in, and all he has to do is continue to fight the best and hopefully beat the best, and he'll be on his way.
And with a series of body shots in the 3rd minute of the round, Cuadras just may have taken round number 1. In the first couple of minutes, Cuadras landing 12 jabs in the first round, which is a little bit more than twice the division average for landed jabs. And Harold Letterman agreed with me that Carlos Cuadras won the first.
In a close round, it's funny that it can be this way, but the more charismatic fighter will get the benefit of the doubt. He will do things to draw attention to himself. And that was a competitive round that I think probably most scored for Cuadras as a result of his style in and out of the ring. It's obvious. And I also think he probably won the round close, but that larger-than-life personality that comes through in his fighting style helps.
Andre, I thought Estrada's activity level went down toward the end of that first round. That could have been a product of the body shots.
It may be a little early to say that, but it may have. You know, we don't know what he's feeling in there, and he may feel those punches, and it may be a little, just enough to detour him.
And now, a minute into round number 2. Estrada and Cuadras still in the center of the ring, showing their footwork and hand skills.
Cuadras had a mental letdown in his last fight. He's the type of fighter who's going to fight to the level of competition. So he'll do good against Gonzalez and guys like Estrada tonight because, again, he fights to the level of his competition.
And that's a shame in a sense, Andre, because the cream of the crop in terms of the pound-for-pound list, fighters like you, for example, Terence Crawford, Lomachenko, you're always in shape, you're always ready, and it doesn't matter the opponent. And Cuadras' inability to maintain that level no matter who he's fighting has maybe held him a little bit back in his career.
It's possible, but when you meet him, you can see he's a guy who has a personality with big highs and big lows, and it may just be
who he is, right. And Estrada, he should be able to get up for because Estrada's a very competent, dangerous opponent.
Absolutely.
Both guys are capable of taking the lead. Both guys are capable of quality counterpunching. So it scarcely matters who goes first. It's a matter of the quality of the punches that they can land within each given exchange.
Although you see Estrada's able to lure Cuadras into throwing punches when Cuadras doesn't always want to. And then Estrada will take a half step back, let the punches hit air, and then counter. See a little subtle pressure, a little half step forward. Cuadras feels he needs to move his hands to keep Estrada at bay, and then Estrada takes a step back and is not there for Cuadras' punches. Crafty fighter. Like that.
Another excellent start in Sonora. Now round 3. Crowd responds as Estrada gets a little bit off balance after missing a looping left hook.
See the professionalism from Estrada. He doesn't panic. He doesn't get involved in the crowd getting hype. He keeps his composure. He just goes back to work.
He also, in a way, even when he's not the most active fighter, is the one dictating tempo. If you watch here, he'll get right into Cuadras' range, take a little step forward. Cuadras will throw the get-off-me punches to establish, his area. And Estrada will just take that step back and then counter the counters.
I think Cuadras is definitely setting things up, and he's working too. He's trying to implement his game plan. Estrada, the key with him is in the eyes. Even though he's not throwing as many punches as Cuadras, he's watching, he's looking for openings, just like a veteran fighter should do.
Cuadras had one of those moments where he fired effectively to the body about 30 seconds ago, similar to what happened in the last moment of round 1. If there's any big difference I've seen between the two of them in the first few rounds here, is Cuadras' ability to get to the body with authority early in the fight.
And generally his imagination. He fights with imagination. Because Cuadras sees himself as a star, Andre. Difficult to beat a guy like that who's also equipped with skills.
No question.
Hard to imagine Carlos Cuadras looking anything but confident. He's so sure of himself. He certainly appears to be projecting confidence in the first few rounds here. Estrada plays it a little bit closer to the vest, a little bit more of a poker-faced fighter. Hard to tell whether he thinks he's reeling Cuadras in exactly the way he wants, or whether he's falling behind in the fight.
And I believe it's as Andre said, they're both having success implementing their game plans at various times, and right now it's a battle of who is going to set the tempo and dictate things.
And this is what you should expect from two veteran fighters like this. Nip and tuck until somebody decides to pull away.
Combination lands for Carlos Cuadras. And again with the 1-2 combination.
Though the right hand's coming up short. The left hand is landing a little something, and Estrada seems to be blocking the right hand.
Cuadras switches southpaw.
That left hook landed.
Cuadras is giving Estrada a lot of different looks right now. Southpaw, right-handed. He's showing him the jab. He's hitting him with right hands, and he's hitting him with body shots.
Estrada getting in a left hook as Cuadras comes to him toward the end of the round.
They're starting to scrap.
Very good, and 25 of those 68 are body shots. Harold Letterman, how do you have it through 3?
Okay, Jim, I got it 3-0. 30-27, Carlos Cuadras. I tell you, Jim, I think number 1, he's landing more. Number 2, he's landing harder. And number 3, he's backing this guy up. He's getting off first all the time. I mean, I thought he landed some terrific body shots through in round 1. I thought he went to the head real good with that right hand in rounds 2 and 3. I love that left jab to the body, too. Look at that right hand to the head.
I don't think that landed very much.
I think it landed. Carlos Cuadras is landing nice right hands. I think he's landing more. I think he's landing harder. I think he's getting off first all the time. And I think he's backing this guy up. Be as it may, 3-0, Carlos Cuadras.
I got to tell you guys, I think we saw it in the replay. Part of it is the right hand seems to be landing, but Estrada's turning with the punch, and it's kind of cuffing him in the back of the head, so the sweat's flying. But I do not see that right hand landing very cleanly for Cuadras very often.
The punch is partially landing, and Estrada's partially rolling. It's a little bit of both.
But at the end of the day, I'll certainly agree with Harold that Cuadras has taken the initiative. He's throwing more, he's landing more, and particularly, again, he's getting to the body. Now he switches back to the southpaw stance, and now he switches back to the conventional stance.
That's what I mean by fighting with charisma. In terms of who's damaging who the most, it's very close. There's nothing to really choose from so far. It's even. But in each round, if you're forced to pick a winner, the more charismatic Cuadras makes you favor him through his sense of confidence and general activity.
Some trainers might say, okay, I know you can switch, but switch for the sake of switching.
Because look at a lot of these clean shots are from Estrada.
Definitely controlling the fight, and it's going the way that he planned.
Question is, can he keep the energy level up? He's expending a whole lot of energy in the early going here, Andre, fighting the way he is, switching from side to side, trying to get to the body, and trying always to be first.
I was just going to say, it's very, very early. 4th round out of 12.
Good hook to the body, as Jim, you pointed out. That's been the money punch for Cuadras all night. And then the hook to the head secondarily. But the right hand, I don't see landing cleanly much.
And sometimes veterans like Estrada, they don't start fighting until the second half of the fight. They get in range, and then you'll see them open up as the 7th, 8th, 9th round progresses on.
Well, Juan Francisco Estrada doesn't want to be counted out in any fight. He hasn't been counted out. Unofficially, you can see that Harold Letterman has scored the first 4 rounds now for Carlos Cuadras. So regardless of whether Estrada feels as though he's doing well and getting things his way, there may be a danger of him letting the scorecards get away from him early in the fight. That requires concentration. One problem, Estrada coming into the fight was averaging 73 punches per round in his last 10 fights. He's only averaging 55 punches per round here. Whether that means he's governing his pace or having trouble finding opportunities against Carlos Cuadras, only he knows for sure.
He's only had in the last, this year 1 fight, last year a fight, the year before that 2 fights. He's not been a very active fighter, and that can have an influence on your activity in the ring just because of rust.
And a lot of that is due to injury. Though he says he's healthy now.
He has had a right hand injury in particular, had surgery on the right hand back in December, and yes, there's a question mark as to whether that is a deficit for him. Though this would appear to be his best round of the fight so far as we get to the midway point of the fifth.
Best round, best moment. Just landed a short left uppercut to the chin of Quadras that got his attention for sure.
You know, sometimes the wrong things in boxing are rewarded. You're not supposed to throw big looping punches, but if you're good at it, the other guy, you know, Estrada hits Quadras with a short, sneaky shot on the inside that actually has effect. Quadras throws a looping shot that's not so effective, but it's easier to see. Quadras gets the credit, Estrada does not. Like that. That right hand slid off of the shoulder and head, but it's going to be scored. That was a good hook from Quadras. Again, his best punch of the fight, spin the hook. Jabs that are basically deflected. Hook to Quadras.
Left hook inside by Juan Francisco Estrada. Like that, Quadras answers back with a left hook, but Estrada answers him with a left and a right. Body shots by Carlos Quadras. And a left hook upstairs off an off-balance shot.
Now, Quadras has overall won the exchanges over the last minute or so. But the big, flashier punches will be scored more readily than the shorter, more technically correct punches oftentimes, unless those short punches really fly the opponent's head.
I agree with that, but both exchanges from both men in this last 30 or 40 seconds.
Here's one thing I see. Quadras is a considerably more unconventional fighter than Estrada, and it's playing to his favor. He goes off script more often than Estrada does, and it seems to be working for him in these exchanges.
By the way, I agree Quadras is winning the fight. I just think it's a little closer maybe than the score.
Margin now for Carlos Quadras, who's landed 41 more punches than Estrada, thrown 69 more punches than Estrada, and is landing at a significantly higher percentage. And as you can see, Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard is still a whitewash every round in favor of Carlos Quadras.
I wouldn't be surprised if the judge has given Estrada a couple rounds.
Not out of the question for sure. But now in a way, coming up next, Principe Bisai against Chocolatito Gonzalez for the second time in the main event. Super fly, 115 pounds.
I also don't see Estrada throwing the kind of punches that change a fight. You know, he throws nice short punches on the inside, but sometimes the follow-through isn't there. And it lands and could land harder where he's throwing, you know, punching through the target.
Just have a wild hunch that if we had seen him 4 years ago, we would have seen a more electric special fighter at that time than appears to be the case here tonight. Can he resurrect it in the last 6 rounds of this fight?
Yeah, this is not the level of Estrada that fought Chocolatito, though it's a very good fighter still.
Carlos Quadras lost to Chocolatito Gonzalez in 2015, and then a few years before that, or excuse me, 1 year before that, beat Principe Bisai. The first time that Principe Bisai came to fight here in the Western Hemisphere, Quadras beat him in Mexico City. He's very familiar with fighters at the top of this weight class. Circuit jab by Estrada knocks Carlos Quadras back. That sets up another jab and a right hand.
That's actually the one punch he's throwing heavy now, is he's throwing a heavy jab, Estrada.
And there's a right hand up and under by Estrada. And a left hook that lands.
Yeah, he landed a left one right before that right uppercut.
Suddenly Estrada has found the target. And now we've got a give and take as both fighters land down the stretch of round number 6. But it's Estrada for the moment who's getting the better of the exchange. And this is a real rally for Juan Francisco Estrada.
Estrada seems to be right where he wants to be right now at this stage in this fight, even though Quadras just landed a big right hand, and Estrada answered him right back.
Was no mustard on it.
Because Quadras looked more balanced on his feet, coming forward more confident. This very high-level summit meeting at 115 pounds. Estrada in the white trunks, Quadras in the black trunks. Harold Letterman watching the same fight as us. Harold, how do you have it?
I got it 5-1. 59, 55, Juan Francisco. No, Carlos Cuadras. I'm sorry. I thought that Juan Francisco Estrada won round 6. You know, all of a sudden, he came out of a clear blue sky and started to fight. For the first 5 rounds, I thought he was just laying back, taking too many good shots from Cuadras. Cuadras landed a lot of combinations, gets off first all the time, switches to southpaw, goes to the body, does all the things you got to do to win a fight. But all of a sudden, at round 6, Juan Francisco Estrada decided he was going to fight. He took it to Cuadras, he punched more, threw good combinations, and landed good shots. 5-1. Carlos Cuadras.
And there's a smile on Estrada's face as this round begins, because already he seems to feel that Cuadras isn't as sure of himself, isn't as steady on his feet as he has, so confidence seems to be rising at the moment. And Cuadras hasn't landed anything really of consequence in this round.
And Cuadras has his mouth open. He's breathing through his mouth, which is usually a sign of fatigue. By the way, I basically agree with Howard. I think Cuadras is probably winning. But I would guess that the range of possible scores, which is a question you should ask yourself when judging a fight, what's possible here? Anywhere from 3-3 to 5-1 Cuadras suggests it's not impossible.
Andre, why is Cuadras suddenly not committing to his punches in the way that he did in the earlier rounds?
I think he's simply trying to get a breather. Estrada laying it on thick right now. He's been putting a lot of pressure on Cuadras since the last round. Fighters can feel if another fighter's starting to weaken, and I think that's what Estrada's starting to feel right now.
And it also indicates that whether or not he was winning the rounds, Estrada was landing effective punches early.
Absolutely.
That's why this effect is being seen now.
That's what a veteran fighter does. He puts money in the bank, so when he hits return, there's something there midway and late in the fight.
Well, that is so true before our very eyes, because from the middle of the 6th round on, Estrada has suddenly taken over here and become the fighter of initiative in this confrontation.
He's punching through the target more, as Andre predicted would be the case in the second half. I think the wear and tear on Cuadras is evidence of the good work that Estrada was.
There's a rally by Cuadras, and he lands an uppercut that backs Estrada up. And we've got the beginnings of what could be a great finish to this fight.
Yes, Cuadras still fighting like hell.
But despite all the difficulty of the early rounds, Estrada has a very composed look on his face as we come now to the end of round number 7.
Good right hand by Cuadras.
Estrada tries to answer that fight. More conservative, conventional craft will pay off against a guy who's trying to do a lot of different things in the ring. Estrada has stuck to his knitting, even though it wasn't working for him in the early going, and now it is.
Veteran fighters don't worry about giving up rounds early. They understand it's not a 6-round fight, it's a 12-round fight.
It is. I love this kind of fight. It's getting heated up. It's hard to predict who's going to win. Is Cuadras, is he special enough, because we know he is special, to rally and hold on in this fight and fight off the challenge of Estrada, who seems the patient veteran fighter here, who now has taken more control of the fight?
Early on, Estrada was not able to sit down on his punches and throw with confidence. In the last 3 rounds, he has, as Max Kellerman says, been punching through the target. It makes a big difference.
He knocked the spit out of Estrada in that excellent camera work replay we showed you in between rounds, slow motion. I mean, I thought it was mouthpiece at first.
Good work from both men these last couple of seconds here.
Another straight right hand landing for Estrada. Gets the jab in down the pipe. Left hook to the body. Cuadras back into his southpaw stance, which is back to conventional.
Also, when Estrada throws a real punch, not a probing jab, most of them seem to land.
Little right hand for Cuadras. Not a big shot. Just momentarily interrupted Estrada's momentum.
But definitely got his attention.
Good body shots for Cuadras there. And that's a way for Cuadras to regain the momentum, is to go back to the body shots that served him so well early in the fight.
Don't neglect the body. For either man.
Cuadras in particular got to the belly of Estrada in round number 1. That seemed to sort of set the tone for what he was able to do in the first few rounds. Then Estrada got his feet back under him.
Yeah.
Started to punch with authority.
Quadras is not going to accept his fate as some guy who's athletic but maybe outfoxed by a veteran. He's going to continue to try to turn the tide in his favor. The question now becomes, does Estrada have another gear? Is he so methodical that he can't take it up to the gear he needs to actually win, or can he do that?
And let's not forget that Quadras is a veteran as well. He's 35-1-1, so he's been around the block a few times.
He's having more success now, Estrada, but is it enough in the face of a fighter who's determined to not let that kind of veteran, methodical technique overcome him?
Anticipated pay-per-view. The customary 9 p.m. Eastern Time, but rather 8 o'clock for the overall pay-per-view card surrounding Canelo and Golovkin.
Jim, Quadras seemed to steady the ship a little bit in that last round.
With body shots, which was the formula for him in the early going, and which certainly helped him there, it appeared to me, in round number 9. Now we're in the 9th round of a scheduled 12. What are both fighters thinking, Andre?
I think Quadras is trying to keep doing what he's been doing, boxing, showing different looks, and not fading, not falling off the deep end. He's trying to be consistent. Estrada, he's trying to land that shot that's going to get Quadras' attention and cause him to potentially put him away. But I agree with Max. He's got to show another gear so he doesn't fall behind the wayside and lose a nip and tuck decision.
Uppercut in the middle of a combination there, landed for Quadras and popped Estrada's head up and back. You heard the crowd ooh and ah.
There's some key moments in fights that the champions, that the fighters who separate themselves a little more special can recognize intuitively, and the contenders can't. And I thought maybe Estrada was doing at least a round better than Harold did, and then he had some momentum, and then he let Quadras take the playback in that 8th round. And here in the 9th is still not finding that gear. There was a chance for him to really fight his way back in, and he may be slipping away. He's got to find it here, I think.
It's been a while since Estrada has landed a really meaningful punch to the body. You saw him trying for the left hook to deliver there against Quadras. Quadras sailing a right hand across the top there, has actually landed more and better body shots in the fight, and that helped to set up that combination you just saw. Another right hand lands for Carlos Quadras.
And there's a lot of reasons why Estrada may not be finding that gear. He may not have the ability to step it up and go to that next gear. He may only train at this stage and this type of intensity, and he may not be willing to walk through what he has to walk through to get what he needs offensively.
And he's fighting a guy, as I said, who thinks of himself as a star. Quadras sees himself as a winner. Hard to break his wins.
Estrada definitely has good moments, but I just don't think they're as consistent enough as they need to be for him to take over this fight.
Quadras, an inventive fighter, too. Will has a bag of tricks he'll go to try to right the ship.
We are live from Carson, California, the StubHub Center, which has produced so many great nights of boxing in the past. And now the beginning of this 115-pound triple header has been a scintillating 9 rounds so far between Carlos Quadras of Mexico in the black trunks and Juan Francisco Estrada, of Mexico in the white trunks. And Harold Letterman, how do you have it unofficially?
I've got it 6 rounds to 3, 87-84, Carlos Quadras. You know, Juan Francisco Estrada had 2 real good rounds in rounds 6 and 7. And all of a sudden he stopped fighting in the 8th. You know, very hard to understand. But he's coming back. I thought he won the 9th round with some real hard shots. And look at what he's doing here. He's coming back, getting off, throwing the first punch, landing hard shots. Man, this is what you got to do to win. Estrada, much though he's behind, he's got to pick up his game somewhat, you know, in order to win this decision if it goes that far. I think that Estrada from start punching, look at down goes Quadras on a straight right hand by Estrada. And
finally Estrada finds the key for turning the fight around. Andre landed some classic combinations early in the round. That helped to set up the straight right hand.
Yeah, he's probably been looking for that shot 4 or 5 rounds ago. He finally landed it.
Estrada fought with more energy in this round. I don't know if you call it another gear, but he was able to recapture what started making this fight special. Can Cuadras fight it off?
Cuadras probably got up a little too soon. He's still hurt. He probably should have took the 8 count and cleared his head a little bit more.
Did Cuadras expend too much energy in building a lead on the scorecards early in the fight? Did Estrada do exactly the right thing in waiting and biding his time? Here's another right hand for Estrada.
Or maybe Estrada's been right and I've been wrong. That if he stays the course and fights methodically and does the technically correct things, he can use Cuadras' wildness against him.
Only the 3rd time Cuadras has been knocked down in his career. Chocolatito wasn't able to do it to him. Now Juan Francisco Estrada puts him down here in the StubHub Center. And the crowd is roaring.
He has a desperate fighter in front of him in Cuadras, and he may be able to take advantage of it if he keeps his cool here.
I think they're both desperate. Estrada probably knows he's behind on the scorecards. Cuadras knows he's been down and has to weather the round.
What does Estrada do here, Andre? Does he step it up, or does he keep his cool?
I think he does what he's doing right now, which is look to get another shot in there. One shot changes the fight. He's not going to go tit for tat with Cuadras in terms of punch count, so he has to land the right shot to get the attention of Cuadras and get him out of there.
Cuadras landed the big looping right hand that sort of got him back into the fray at this moment. And he appears to have cleared his head now with 10 seconds to go in round number 10.
But we still got 2 rounds to go.
6 minutes of action still in front of us. Got his feet solidly under him. In round number 5 or so, power level of his punches went way up. And he has given Cuadras an entirely different fight since that time. And you can see that Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard, which was once pretty wide in Cuadras' favor, has now narrowed down to a single point in Cuadras' favor with 2 rounds still to go.
This could be an even fight right now. Easily.
Good left hook by Estrada.
Did Estrada make a mistake by letting Cuadras off the hook? Or was he smart? He didn't run into anything stupid, and does he still have enough time to get the job done here?
Estrada is who he is. He's methodical. He's not going to rush his shots. He's not going to overshoot his target. He's confident that he can land that big shot once again.
So well said, Andre, because it's so clear at this moment that Estrada is the calmer fighter, much more confident at this moment about his circumstances in the fight. Even though Cuadras may still lead on the scorecards, he's the one who's searching for another answer as he switches to southpaw.
The danger is we've seen Cuadras throughout this fight impose his kind of charismatic style in rounds where it looked like Estrada was about to take over. He's fended Estrada off. There are only 2 rounds left, and Cuadras is likely up on the cards.
And now Cuadras has the intelligence and the wherewithal to go back to the body where he prospered early in the fight.
True, but I still think Cuadras is a little dazed. I think he's a little hurt still. He can still punch and do what he has to do, but Estrada knows that if he gets another good shot in there, the fight could be over.
Estrada landed a good left hook, didn't get quite enough mustard on it to put Cuadras on his back. He's clearly looking for one more big shot to try to score the knockout.
I think of a couple recent great fights in this great year of boxing where guys took different approaches. Klitschko had Joshua down and ready to go and maintained his methodical approach, and it didn't work. Andre Ward hurt Kovalev to the body and instead fought with passion and attacking that body and ended the fight. Not that sometimes the reverse is true. Sometimes the more technical approach wins and the more wild approach loses.
Little left hook lands for Cuadras. Estrada not bothered by it. Hasn't had to walk through anything really hard in the last couple of rounds. Left hook lands inside for Estrada. That's not the A-level left hook.
Estrada looks to me like a 15-round fighter fighting in a 12-round fight right now.
I like that.
Even rounds in terms of number of punches landed, according to Tommy Box, but I think Estrada's punches have had more authority, and he lands another big left hook in the closing seconds of round number 11.
I think that hook won the round.
100%.
That's tell you, the second half of the fight, just like Andre Ward told us it was going to be, the second half of the fight, Juan Francisco Estrada really took over. I mean, it's like the first 5 rounds he didn't fight for nothing, but the second half, just like Andre told us it was going to be, Juan Francisco Estrada took over and fought a terrific fight. And the knockdown, you know, the knockdown's got it all even in terms of points. 104, 104. Whoever wins the 12th round wins the fight.
On Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard, we'll see what the official judges have after all the action is over. What a second half comeback in this fight by Juan Francisco Estrada. And as we pointed out, Andre, you said all along it was possible the way he was fighting.
Well, you can tell that's the type of fighter that Estrada is. He's very patient. I mean, he's not going to waste any punches. He's very economical. He's only going to throw what he wants to throw. And now you see it paying dividends late in this fight. But kudos to Cuadras because he's hung in there. He's had some rough moments down the stretch. Good shot from Estrada, but Cuadras is not giving up yet. He's still fighting with a lot of heart and a lot of passion.
And Estrada is landing with authority, Max.
We're in the last 2 minutes of the last round of a fight that's up for grabs. Andre, does Estrada continue to look for spots to pick, or does he need to pick it up?
Those are the spots he's looking for right there. He's willing to live and die with either catching Cuadras or not. That's just who Estrada is. He's not going to come outside of himself, even though it's a close fight in the 12th round.
Ever since Estrada put Cuadras down with a right-hand shot, Cuadras has been looking for the right hand and trying to stay away from it, and that has given Estrada the chance to land some very solid left hooks in the last 2 rounds.
Let me tell you how I see it. I understand exactly what you're saying, Andre, and you and Estrada might be right in that point of view. But we've seen too many close calls and guys griping after the fight about decisions. And here Estrada looks to me like he has a chance to do something to take all doubt away. And I would think he should go for it.
I agree with you, and I'm not saying he shouldn't step it up. I'm just saying he's not going to step it up. Not who he should have been.
1 minute to go
thus far in this fight. Or any of his fights, for that matter.
Got a lot of heart on Cuadras. He just...
You see right there, Estrada was willing to take those pity-pat punches because he knew he was going to counter with 1 or 2 big shots after that. Again, that's that veteran mentality, and that's the mentality that Estrada's had for this whole fight.
Who knows how the judges have seen this so far, though. Estrada's got to hope that one of these counters in the next 30 seconds is enough to really show that he's won this round.
30 seconds to go. Fight is still on the table for both fighters, most likely. Cuadras has tried to generate a lot of activity in the 12th round. Estrada has picked his shots and tried to land hard punches, and in some cases, very successfully so. Little left hook lands for Cuadras, and the bell sounds. Tremendous fight.
Terrific.
Gentlemen, after 12 rounds of boxing, we go to the scorecards. But first, let's give it up for 2 super flyweights in the first of our 3 contests here tonight. All 3 judges have the scores the same, 114 to 113. To the winner by unanimous decision, Carlos El Principe Estrada.
All 4 judges had it 114-113, Jim.
I'm a little bit confused because Michael Buffer just said Carlos Estrada. I believe he's saying that Carlos Cuadras is the winner. And obviously Estrada was shocked by the decision against him. And now Estrada is obviously quite upset and is making clear that he's upset. One of the judges is handing his card up, and now it appears that we may have a correction, because I'm not certain that Michael Buffer gave it correctly.
Apologies, please. My apologies. The score goes the other way. The winner, Juan Francisco Estrada.
Haven't seen that all that often. It's not the first time ever. Michael Buffer gets it right on the second delivery, and the winner is not Carlos Cuadras, but rather Juan Francisco Estrada. Final count, few box numbers.